Good evening and welcome to the future.
Good evening, and welcome to a new set decor
Yeah,
tonight.
you're in a new place. Tell us what's going on there.
I'm up visiting mom for a couple of days, helping her out around the place,
You're
visiting
in
our
Mom's
friend Liz,
corner.
and so I'm not in Brooklyn, and I'm using her setup, and it's nice and cozy and kind of moody and dark in here. I like it.
It is cozy at Mom's house.
Um, so how are you? Really haven't talked in 2 weeks. Really?
Uh, we haven't. My life is all about cocktails now.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
cocktails from the moment I wake up in the morning till the moment I go to bed at night. Speaking
Um,
of which, I have
you
to have
want
a
to
little sip
clarify
here.
that maybe a little bit because it sounds like you're just drinking all day.
Sounds like I'm drinking all day. I'm not drinking all day. I'm working on our booze business. Um, And I know we mentioned, a couple of weeks ago was my birthday, and Mom got me what I didn't tell you about was this amazing book, The Oxford Companion to Spirits and Cocktails. It's like the Encyclopedia Britannica of everything to do with booze. It's
Hmm.
not a recipe book. It's like just everything you'd want to know about what is that? How does that work? How do they make that? What's a still? It's
Okay,
20
so I'm going
pages
to
on
test you
different.
quickly, just a
Yeah.
couple, the quickest, briefest. What's the difference between whiskey and bourbon?
Whiskey and bourbon? Well, I can't answer that question quickly because I would have to look up whiskey and look up bourbon, and
So you haven't read this book yet, I guess.
this book is over 800 pages of fine print.
Can I see it? Are you not going to
So
show it to me?
the whiskey entry is one, two, three pages on just what whiskey is, the definition of whiskey.
Oh,
You
this
don't
is
want
the
me to
whole
read
thing.
all three pages. Yeah, no, this here, I'll hold it up. See, it's a big, thick.
Whoa,
Look how thick that is.
that's beautiful.
Big, thick, heavy hardcover book, just with and it's not just it has sections on the classic bars of history, um, notable people in the development of different cocktails and cocktail culture. It's
Does it
just
have
it's
Joe's Bar? What is it? What was Hemingway's bar in Paris? Was it in Paris? Was it called Joe's Bar or something? There's
um
a famous one.
yeah, Harry's, wasn't it?
Harry,
Harry's
maybe it was
bar.
Harry's. Yeah, it was like it's a regular guy's name.
Here, I'm looking up Harry's bar here. uh the history of ice. I'm in the G's, so I've got to get to the H's. There's a thing on the grasshopper, on the hard shake, which is a method of House Alpens, is an American specialty wine and spirits importer. Hold on, the pages are very, it's like trying to separate pages of foolscap. I don't know what that is. Harvey Wallb Harry's New York Bar in Paris.
There you
It's one of the
go.
most famous and oldest cocktail bars still in operation. Made famous by high-profile clients such as Ernest Hemingway.
There you go.
Harry's New York Bar in Paris, of all
In
places.
Paris. Right.
So, but
Well,
I am slowly reading. It's a great book because you just pick it up, crack it open to any pages, and there's something fascinating there.
and it covers it's not just booze, it's things like ice. There's science in there.
There's science to do with ice. So
Um,
that's my life lately is somewhere, I had lunch today with the representative of the sales rep for a label company because we've got to get our labeling. So it's all you want to kill yourself listening to me talk about this because I'll just like bore people to tears now. I can see mom's eye. Mom's like, "How's it going?" And I start talking, and I can see the eyes start to glaze over. I don't blame her. If you're
we're just
watching
saying
this,
that,
mom, and I know you are, I don't blame you for the eyes glazing over. I don't even wanna listen to myself.
right. Well, um, all of this work is going to pay off.
We hope.
All this extreme selfishness will pay off.
It will. Yeah. Yeah. So, what have you been up to the past 2 weeks? I haven't seen you.
Oh gosh. Little this, little that. Working on a screenplay, trying to.
How's it going?
Hey, it's going, I mean, it got to the phase where I actually, opened Final Draft and started working in Final Draft. So it's gotten to that point.
You feel
But
like you're a real screenwriter when you're working in Final Draft.
or a real heel, one or the other. I don't know. Spending that much money on a word processing document application.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been cool. Amelia is in her last week of the show, so that's been exciting. Wrapping that whole experience up. And got some fun news, which we'll announce maybe next week. I need to solidify a couple things, but
Oh.
some a new what looks like a new job gig, which would be really cool.
Oh.
Um,
Can I know what arena it's in? It's
it's
not
in the teaching.
Templar.
It's in the teaching world.
In the teaching world. All
Yeah.
right. Fantastic.
Um. So. So yeah, I'll have more info about that next week.
Okay. Have you seen anything good?
I see anything good? Boy. Well, yeah, because I go watch old movies still, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like free time when I have it. Watched I just read Louis Buñuel's autobiography. So after reading that, he's one of my hero filmmakers, and so I went and watched a movie of his I hadn't seen before. I'd never seen one of them that I'd never caught, called
Hold
Phantom.
on. I don't understand.
Which part of what I said?
A movie that you haven't seen.
Yes, that's true. But there are movies I've
I
not seen.
like the ground just shifted under my
Don't make
feet.
fun. Be nice on the show. And
It's nice.
so
It's a
I saw
compliment.
the
You've seen
Phantom of
everything. You're an aficionado.
I
You're
saw
a
the Phantom of Liberty, which is phenomenal, and part of basically a kind of a trilogy of his that he did later in life. And I saw that, and then I went crazy, and I saw that, and I
Paul
saw,
Williams, right?
huh?
It's with Paul Williams, right? The little guy.
The Rainbow Connection.
Yeah.
There's a Louis Buñuel's last film, The Rainbow Connection. Yeah. In
Oh no,
fact,
Paul Williams was
a
the
frog
Phantom
playing a
of the.
banjo in a swamp and singing is fairly Buñuelian, though.
This is the Phantom of the Paradise was Paul
Oh,
Williams,
that
I
was
guess.
Paul Williams. Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
okay,
Yeah,
I got them confused. Okay,
he
sorry.
didn't do that movie, but that's another great one. And then I saw so that's an old movie, and I saw another old movie which I hadn't seen because I was in a mood, and I was like, "Well, there's some Godard movies I have not seen." A full, admission, and so I saw a movie called Contempt, which I hadn't seen since I was like 15. I didn't really remember it, so I did see some stuff, but nothing new. Then I saw Power of the Dog. So there, how do you do? That's a new movie. I'm not
That's
always watching old fuddy duddy stuff.
But yeah, there's some Godard movies that I haven't seen too.
Probably a few, yeah.
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 I actually think it's safe to say all of the Godard movies.
Do
I
you
think
know
I
which
haven't
ones
seen.
you haven't seen?
I think all of them I haven't
Okay,
seen.
you don't know them by name though.
The names of the movies that I haven't seen?
Well,
No.
how about the ones that you have?
The names of the Godard movies that I have seen, I do know.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's our show, ladies and gentlemen.
But Power of the Dog was pretty interesting. It is a long movie, and it was a bit of a slog getting into it for me. But by the end, I
Uh-huh.
really kind of understood why people were talking about it and liked it. Have you
Did you
seen it?
get to hang out did you get to hang out with Sam Neill at all afterwards and talk to him?
I'm
Not
lost.
Sam Neill. It's not Sam Neill. Who's the guy with the mustache?
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott. Did you get to hang out with Sam Elliott and talk about The Power of the Dog at all?
Why are you asking that? What? No.
Because he got into a whole big
Oh yeah, he talked about it on
got
Mark
got into
Maron's
a whole
podcast.
yeah, whole big thing, whole big hullabaloo.
I found that to be I thought it was a silly thing to get in to say at the time, and after seeing the movie, I find what he said to be equally silly. I found it to be kind of nonsensical. I like Sam Elliott just fine, but I don't know why
I
he
do
was
too.
this upset.
I don't know. Well, I haven't seen the movie, and I don't even remember what it was he said, so that I shouldn't even be
Well, he
talking
was
about this.
taking to task the movie. From what I remember, he was kind of like complaining about the movie because it didn't represent the real West. And
Unlike Tombstone, for instance,
I'm
which
like,
was
yeah, like that's a whole other thing.
as accurate a depiction as you will ever see.
Yeah, and that so it was like, okay, so it's one person's vision of a certain group of people. Have not It's not
I
supposed to be the
often
entire Old West.
I often object to movies that don't accurately portray the fake world that I have come to believe in.
True. Here's another
You
thing I
know?
don't do. I generally, though I like his work, don't read Sam Elliott's reviews of cinema. Don't really do that. As a matter of
Really?
fact, I've lived all this time without ever knowing what the hell movie he liked or didn't. I don't care.
So you are as up on Sam Elliott's reviews of cinema as I am on Goddard
Pretty much,
or
except I
Godard.
think I'm a completist. I think this is the only time he ever said anything about any movie was this. He got crusty about this movie. I
You
really
did,
don't
you
know why.
got crusty. Okay. Go back to narrating, the dude and
He's great. Just I don't leave Jane Campion alone.
yeah,
Well,
exactly. Yeah. Um, so I've been watching, another British detective
get out of
cop,
town.
yeah, called Bancroft, that's very good, I highly recommend it.
Okay.
It's about a bad cop.
Oh, those are fun shows.
Yeah, a bad female, chief superintendent, not
Th-
chief
This is
superintendent,
not that we're doing it yet, but this is a segue into our film tonight. Bad Cop. Here we
bad
go.
cop,
Yeah.
yes. Well, he's not a bad cop, he's just causes trouble, but
But
he's
isn't that
not
really, when you think about it, what the movie's asking us to really examine? We'll talk about it later.
w pl
Uh,
or unless I can fill the hour talking about other things, which I'm
please do.
trying to do.
Be
I'm
my
trying
guest.
I'm trying to fill the hour.
I will tell you about a mushroom recipe that I love
Yeah,
after you finish your
um,
story.
but I also saw a movie called I See You from 2019, starring Helen Hunt Helen Hunt
Helen of Hunt.
Helen of Hunt and Sir John of Tenny.
Oh, John
Um,
Tenney. Awesome.
yeah, playing well, I'm not gonna say that. He plays a cop, um, and, it's it's one of those movies that has a lot of twists and turns. Like you have to keep pausing it and saying, "Well, now hold on,
Can
now."
I stop you and ask a question?
Yeah.
Are there more turns or more twists?
I'd say there's more twists.
Interesting.
Yeah, there are many times where you have to pause the movie and say, "Okay, so I just learned something that makes me, like, have to go back and revisit about 7 different moments in the movie to reevaluate what happened there."
I like those kinds of movies.
Yeah. Very, very, very complex and twisted and convoluted and interesting.
Okay.
Um, what else? I had a really good, smoked bacon, cheddar, and egg sandwich from Starbucks this morning.
Really? Oh, you
Yeah.
do food from Starbucks. You actually do food. You do the prepared food.
I don't often, but I did this morning, because
Shocked. I'm really shocked.
you've never had prepared food from Starbucks?
No, no. I mean, I've had like a
A s
croissant
a
or something,
scone.
and
No, their
I'm
breakfast
using
sa
the American pronunciation because it isn't a croissant that they
no,
make.
But
Because
the
they crust
breakfast
all.
sandwiches are not bad at Starbucks. They're not bad.
Whatever you say, brother. I've seen him come out of those little airport modules, and I'm like, I don't want to eat that.
Not
But
good. Well, you know me. I'll shove anything into
I
my
know.
face.
I think food should smell good at all times.
Oh, the bacon breakfast sandwich smells good. The bacon, double smoked, it's really good.
Something they do in those corporate kitchens that doesn't smell good to
Yeah,
me.
all right. It's not awesome, but
I'm
whatever.
just
But
horrified.
I have been
Whatever.
so busy. I've
Yeah.
been so busy that I woke up this morning and out of breakfast food.
Hmm.
And I will do things sometimes with breakfast food. I'll get creative. I in fact, I had, yesterday and the day before yesterday, I had something that I made that both times I was eating it, I'm not kidding you, I was saying to myself, "Ooh, I can't wait until Tony's out here. I am making this for him because he's gonna
Yeah.
slap me in the head and say, 'Why have you kept this from me?'"
Where has this been all my life?
It's,
Wow. Okay.
Trader Joe's makes these frozen arepas. Do you know the arepa? Have you ever had
Yeah.
those? The corn cake with the cheese in the middle?
Yes.
Okay, so one of those done up
Yes, Gary.
in the oven till it's nice and crispy and hot, and then a fried egg on top of it and some hot sauce. And
How can you?
it's all you need in the world.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm happy just hearing about it. Definitely happy just hearing about that.
What else can
Um,
we talk about? I, just, um, I went, I had to fill the car up with gas the other day.
okay, we
Um,
can't. We have to come up with. We have to
okay,
start talking
we
about the
have to
movie,
talk
even
we
if
have to
it's a short show. We have to talk about Demolition Man.
Okay,
We
we're gonna
promised
talk about
everybody.
Demolition Man. We told people we were gonna talk about Demolition Man, and we are going to talk about Demolition Man. I wanted to murder, death, kill this movie.
I had a pretty poor time of it myself.
I I I I cannot this movie was not well received. It wasn't but it wasn't poorly received, like, people don't revile this movie,
Yeah, I read some
which makes
reviews
me
where people,
question the
well, they reviewed it like it was a regular movie, and I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
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 this
this
is
is
the
it's a particularly bad movie.
yeah,
Like notably bad.
this is The Room bad, this movie,
Yeah,
in places.
yeah. Look, let's just get it off the table. The one thing I'll say is that I was pleasantly surprised that they chose to lean out of action movie into comedy, but very, very displeased as to how they did that.
And how unfunny it was.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're
I
gonna
mean,
lean out
I
of
was like,
action
oh, they're gonna do it's really just about this guy out of time, not knowing where he is, fish out of water comedy, really. And I thought, well, okay, I'd rather see that than taking seriously what the first 10 minutes are. And then they
yeah,
didn't make it funny though.
they didn't make it funny at all. Um, this movie had a budget of $57 million estimated, and it grossed worldwide $58 million,
Seriously?
according to, IMDb.
Holy moly. Worldwide. That's all together till now, like not just opening weekend or something. Damn.
Yeah, it's
Well, they made their money back, I guess.
barely.
Stallone apparently still he still champions the movie. He says he thinks it's good.
I understand why. I actually do understand why.
Okay.
Because of the 10-minute sequence of shots of adoration of his Adonis-like body as he's being frozen,
Yeah.
which are is one of the strangest sequences I've ever seen in a film.
It's one of the strangest things you've seen a star actually decide to do. It's strange Takes a long time. He's very naked. I will say, arguably in the shape of his life, though, like arguably he was in the best shape he's ever been in this movie.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean, it's he's in
certainly
shape.
better shape than me.
Well, don't he was a little younger when he made this movie.
That's true. This was rough. I'm gonna go out on a limb though about one thing. Sandra Bullock got really sort of taken to task for this movie. I kinda saw her charm. I do think she was maybe one of my favorite things in the movie. That's not saying a lot.
Here, you know what? I can't go that
You
far. I can't condone any work from anybody in it, but I can say that I felt really bad for her because I saw her understanding what could be and trying to do it, trying to get as good as it could be, but it just I mean, this script is for 2-year-olds most of the
Yeah.
time, which isn't there's more, I mean, there's more to a lot of writing for 2-year-olds than in this film.
But I guess we're kinda saying the same thing, like, I felt like she was giving it the old college try.
Yeah, she was, as they used to say, game, I mean,
Yeah,
she was in on it, she was trying to make it better and doing what was asked of her and just trying to do it. I mean, she wasn't a giant star yet,
no,
I mean, she hadn't even done Speed, had she?
no,
That's what I'm saying, like,
yeah,
she was just gonna do what they told her to do, she wasn't a star.
yeah. I
Uh,
think actually the uncredited Rob Schneider gives one of the better performances in the movie.
well, thank you. It's hard, that's where I will fully say that is my role, and, you know, I
Yes,
think you did a fine job, but I think I'd do better.
I think that is your role, and I think we can both agree on what my role would have been.
Well, I don't know. We haven't been agreeing on that consistently. I think that I had you down as Andre Gregory.
Oh, really? I had me down as the eunuch assistant.
With the glasses.
Yeah,
Oh, well, I mean, I could see that. But again, I think that's a pretty big part. And I don't know if we're getting those roles.
no, no. Andre
He's
Gregory
he's in
was
he's in like a dozen scenes.
wait, who was Andre Gregory?
Andre Gregory was Warden Smithers, who gets his eye plucked out by Cicely Snipes, Cicely Wipes,
Nestle wipes.
Cicely Wipes.
Nestle's
Um,
wipes.
I thought it was
Nestle's wipes.
interesting to the degree to which it was clear that some people had seen the movie Batman, directed by Tim Burton, and went, "Let's try to do some of that stuff in our movie." Didn't work quite as well.
No, nightmare.
Didn't you feel like Wesley was basically just trying to do what Jack Nicholson did as,
Um,
as the Joker?
yeah. It was just,
I'm going to tell you honestly, this run has been the hardest to talk about between Metro and this. I found myself panicking as to what we would actually say.
what we would say. Well, next week is gonna be awesome.
Next week should be at least much more entertaining than that. I mean,
Humorous and fun. Yeah. Time
this
cop
was
for
so
those of you.
strained, I mean, look, okay, so those of you who don't know the movie and are listening and haven't just become disgusted with us by now and are listening, you want to just give a quick capsule of what this is?
Yeah. Sylvester Stallone is Sergeant John Spartan, a cop in a slightly futuristic Los Angeles. That is right, it's Los Angeles? Yeah.
Yeah.
Los Angeles that's just completely devastated. It's turned into a sort of a militarized cops versus drug dealers war zone. And his nickname as a cop is Demolition Man because he blows everything up trying to get the bad guys. And he goes after Wesley Snipes, who's the kingpin of all kingpin drug dealers, who has kidnapped 30 people taken 30 people hostage on a bus, and he goes after him, and in the ensuing battle between the two of them, supposedly all of the hostages are killed and an entire building is blown up. And they decide that they do capture Wesley Snipes, but they decide that they're both a danger to society. So they're both going to he's convicted of manslaughter because of all of the hostages getting killed. And they both get frozen for 60 years or something like that.
Cryogenically frozen in, very elaborate chambers. That's well designed stuff, I'll say.
Yeah.
Production design there on the cryogenic freezing, very good.
Yeah. Excellent. And apparently, while you're cryogenically frozen, they implant a thing into your head that speaks into your brain and sort of reprograms you. And then you get out and you'll be a better person.
Right.
Wesley Snipes somehow escapes from his cryogenic freezing thing.
After 30 years.
After 30 years, there's a subplot involving why he gets sort of released. And the cops, he's released into this world that's completely peaceful and nobody touches anybody else. There's no crime. Everything is sterile and humorless. And how would you
it's kind of a dystopian, utopian,
a utopia,
future.
A utopia you wouldn't want to be in.
Yeah.
And they realize that the cops there don't know how to deal with violence, so they have to unfreeze Stallone in order to battle Wesley Snipes.
There's so little crime anymore that the cops are basically just have to politely ask people to stop what they're doing, and everybody does it. So they can't. No one knows how to fight or do anything badass anymore because it's all illegal.
Yeah. So. And then there's a whole subplot as to the guy who has created the utopia is actually the one who arranged for Wesley Snipes being released because it will show them why he should have even more control than he has to create this dystopian utopia.
Right.
And really just fry everybody's brain until they're mush in his hands.
From a social point of view, I think there's some interesting things to just mention about the movie because it's kind of interesting to see, political correctness being addressed by this big Hollywood blockbuster movie in a comical way, and political correctness kind of being something we've seen kind of chart and grow into other things. And now I guess some people feel like it's similar to wokeness or other forms of kind of social change that are more like enforced good behavior and things like that. We've heard a lot of this stuff talked about what's kind of these days, but what's interesting is to kind of see a movie from the 90s that was tackling those issues as they were coming up in that time.
Right.
From kind of the anti-woke stance of like, it was better when we were all disgusting and cavemen. It's kind of like what the premise is, but it's clearly a conversation that was still going on, or that was going on even then. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this was a big conversation about California in particular because of the governor at the time wasn't it? This extremely liberal guy who everybody was talking about like, oh, we're all going to be eating tofu, like mandatory tofu and meditation.
Jerry Brown. Yeah.
Wasn't it Jerry Brown? There was at that time, everybody was thinking that California was going to become this like liberal, like, den of kind of liberal Nazism where everybody would have to be, kind of new agey.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny to see a Hollywood movie taking on that stuff and what it decides what jokes to make about it and what it's concerned with at that time. That's all I can say. I have nothing. You're just staring at me like I'm an idiot right now.
No, I'm really trying to engage, and the movie just made me want to kill
But
myself.
if
And
you
then
were gonna, if you had to teach a class on this or on like '90s cop action movies, and you had to teach something like this at your school, wouldn't that be the angle you'd kind of take for it
yes,
to be a
yeah,
talking point? Like the only thing to discuss really about this movie
right, yeah.
is that.
We do have one comment that I'll share here that Seth Michael May asks, "Is this movie and Judge Dredd the same movie or just in my head?"
You
Uh,
know, Seth, I never saw Stallone's Judge Dredd, so I'm sure it's very similar, but I do know the movie Dredd. Now, if you haven't seen Dredd, that's a really fun, really well-made action movie. Similar story came out, I guess, I don't know, before, I know after Judge Dredd, I guess.
you know,
But
I'm looking at my notes here, and the notes just smell of desperation to find something to talk about.
I gave
None of
up.
them are even worth talking about, my
No,
notes.
I give up. I don't feel like any performers are having fun. I mean, that's kind of where we end up running out of steam on this show. Like if there's no joy or excitement in any of the actors or the performances, it's really hard for us to discuss. And
Yeah.
I didn't feel any heat from anybody in this. I will say that surprisingly, I think he's terrible in it. But Stallone actually seemed to be trying to make the movie that they were making. Like he seemed to want to make this comedy action thing really work. I just don't think he knew how.
No, he didn't know how. Wesley Snipes doesn't look like he's having a good time.
Well, I feel like he's not playing to they're not casting him to his strengths.
No.
Snipes to me is a fairly like he's got a inner life. Snipes is a very he's his quieter, more menacing performances I really remember.
Yeah.
But him trying to showboat, it doesn't really it's not really his style. And then he ends up kind of doing this faux English accent thing, like kind of ripping off Eddie Murphy's thing a little bit, which I thought was weird. And I don't feel like I don't but again they didn't get they what do they give him? They don't really give him much.
Did you have any moment where you thought, because Stallone has a daughter in the movie, who he hasn't, he gets frozen. So his daughter would now be much older when he's unfrozen. And we don't meet her. It turns out later that I discovered that there were scenes shot with the daughter that were cut from the movie.
That
But
makes sense.
did you have any moment where you thought the big reveal and twist was gonna be that it turned out that Sandra Bullock, who he was flirting with, was his daughter?
No, but only because they didn't sleep together. Let's be realistic.
Alright, they did
Um
well, but they're going to now at the end of
I
the
was
movie.
making a joke. I was
Oh,
actually kidding.
yeah,
Like, if that would have been the level of humor that they, I think, would have thought was funny in this movie, like,
right.
"Oh, we slept together. You're my daughter. How awkward."
Yeah, very awkward.
Um,
Um, okay, do you have a favorite or a less least favorite moment or scene in this movie?
I have 2 things that I can say that I liked or thought were I thought the action in the first 5 minutes is actually pretty tight. There's a big giant action set piece in the first 5 minutes where they set up Stallone and Wesley Snipes' character and the hostages, and there is in fact a ginormous demolition explosion that is kind of a wonder to behold. It's an incredible set piece. They actually did blow. This is an actual demo of a building that they
Yeah,
shot somewhere in the Midwest, and they dressed it, I think, with a lot of props and set pieces around it. So it's this giant shot, widescreen, and it's before they were CGIing stuff like this. It looks like the kind of thing they could only CGI today. It's really
yeah.
impressive.
What was really embarrassing was that they had to go again after the first take. No, um,
They had to go to another
act
city.
1, Back to one.
So I kind of thought that the script was obviously pretty bad even in the first 5 minutes, but I thought the action was going to be great. I thought it was going to actually be like, oh wow, this is really well done 90s action, and then they kind of gave up on that, and the action got really cartoonish. And then it reminded me of like the Batman, the first Batman movie, which I liked, but the action in that is pretty cartoonish.
Right.
I they also tried to do too many damn things in this movie.
Yeah. There was only one shot / stunt that stood out to me, really, which was in the big underground fight in the sewer system underground of the future world. There was a moment where there were Stallone or Snipes, I don't remember which one it was. It was probably actually a stunt person, I'm sure, on the scaffold that buckles and twists and throws the stunt people off it.
You didn't think that kind of looked like the Universal Tours backlot stunt that they do with the hinged thing that just swivel? It looked so designed to me.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I thought that was like the Towering Inferno ride. Like that
I
scaffolding
like the Towering Inferno ride.
I did like a stunt in the first 5 minutes. He kicked somebody down a flight of stairs. That's actually pretty fantastic.
Do you know that Snipes did
him jumping out of the helicopter? That's real. That was pretty damn good. He repels out of the back of a like a transport helicopter above this building, and that's a real person doing that. That was pretty impressive.
Did you know that Snipes insisted on doing all his own stunt work for the movie?
I did, because he's a black belt. And
did you know that then they reshot all those sequences with a stuntman?
Yeah, because Snipes was too fast, apparently.
Right.
Because he was so quick that you couldn't really see what was happening. So they opted then to reshoot it with somebody that was so slow and bad that it's like, it's really, really sad. He must have been pretty upset about that. I think, you know what? Hats off to a movie from the 90s that was willing to cast Benjamin Bratt as something other than the hottest fireman you've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was unusual casting.
Anybody else you want to call out in the cast?
Yeah, I want to call out Denis Leary and ask him not to appear in things anymore. I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to personally call and ask him to stop. Just please consider stopping.
Yeah, I had a bad moment with Denis Leary in real life.
Did you?
I had a bad moment. Yeah.
I don't even care. Tell me. What is it? What happened?
I had a role on Rescue Me playing a therapist and was told that we're going to use you a lot. This guy's going to be a recurring therapist for some of the firefighter guys. And my second day of shooting, there were 2 firefighters on set, and I sat down for lunch, and I was sitting with these 2 real life firefighters, guys who in real life fight fires. And they were on set because Denis is a big fan of the fire department, and the movie was about the show was about firefighters, so he would have firefighters come visit the set. So I'm sitting having lunch with these 2 guys, and Denis comes over and I haven't met him. We've shaken hands maybe once, been introduced. And he sits down next to me and he's talking to the firefighters, and he's doing all the talking. And he's talking to them about the previous day's shooting, where they were shooting one of the fire sequences. This is after 9/11, right? And he's going on and on and on about how difficult the day was with the smoke and wearing all of the equipment and the mask and the carrying the tank. And he won't stop talking about how difficult his day was. And because I'm an idiot, I turned to him and I said, Denis, when these guys do that and wear all that equipment, the building's actually on fire. And he gave me a look like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And, it's really surprising. But that ended up not being a recurring role.
Really,
Isn't
that's
that
funny.
isn't that strange?
Can I ask you a question? Did you actually open your mouth thinking there'd be any other outcome after saying that? Or were you like, screw it, I don't like this guy and this job isn't worth it?
Well, let me put it this way. I would imagine that there are people you could say that to, that one could say that to, who might go, "Oh yeah," and laugh.
Yeah, but
Dennis Leary's
be-
not one of them.
but my point is,
Your
this is
point
a
is that
compliment.
I'm
This
an
is a
idiot.
compliment similar to the one you paid me before, where I'm saying not a lot of guys. I mean, because you basically are saying you took a gamble on it. Like, you knew, like, some people would laugh, some people might not. You know that,
Yeah.
and I your calculations were maybe
I
wrong.
did
I don't know.
I did not choose wisely.
No.
I didn't know when to hold them or fold them.
Right.
I should have kept my mouth shut.
Well, whatever. He did not make good on his promise to act well in this film.
No, and also, where is Dennis Leary now? He doesn't have a show on YouTube,
Well,
routine on
that's why
YouTube.
we can talk this way about him, because I have
Yeah,
no fear that his he will not hire me or fire me or anything. He's doing what we're doing. He's not even
yeah,
doing what we're doing.
yeah.
This is
We've
his
got a show on
podcast.
YouTube that there are
Eh?
5 people watching this show
Exactly.
right now.
What's he doing?
Yeah,
Smoking camels and complaining. Um,
actual camels.
yeah, exactly. By which I
So,
mean shooting. Can't forget it. It's not worth
yeah,
it.
do you have a double feature for this,
God, I
movie?
really thought
I
about
do.
this. I thought about it, and I was like, ultimately, I didn't want this movie to hang out with any of the other movies I could think of. But I will say that the closest I came was 12 Monkeys, which is a movie I love, and and it's a shame it would have to be near this
Here
film,
near this
really.
film.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what did you have?
I had, Time After Time with Malcolm McDowell, David Warner, and Mary
Hey,
Steenburgen.
that's a great one. That's a good one. That's a much better movie than this.
A cop chasing a villain through time.
Let's do that next month.
Cops
Time
chasing
travel
villain.
movies.
Time travel movies? Okay, we can do we'll start with Time After Time.
I like that.
It's a fun movie. What is the best way to watch this movie? Because I had an answer to that one too.
If there were, I don't know, like an advertisement, video panel at a urinal at a sports bar,
That's good.
and you could
Mine was
see like a couple of minutes of it while you were relieving yourself, I think that'd be the perfect place to see this movie.
Yours is better than mine. Yours is much better. Mine was while napping.
With an eye mask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and earplugs.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would just avoid this. I don't think there's any place to see it. It really shouldn't be seen. Although, okay, you said one of the things I liked. I will say one thing that I liked, one joke that actually kind of worked.
Okay.
By which I'm saying, like, the best things about this movie are rejected jokes from Idiocracy.
Yes.
Kind of, right?
Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of funny that the only existing restaurant in the world now was Taco Bell, and that all restaurants were Taco Bell. And that was because they won the fast food wars. I just thought that was actually
That's
kind of a funny,
witty idea.
and that they went, and then it was Nouvelle Taco Bell. It was a fancy Taco Bell. And then the Nouvelle, like, there were just individual tortilla chips with fancy things on them. I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty funny. I'll give
And
them that.
I would eat that.
It looked pretty good.
In fact, I think I have eaten that.
And then that's it. That's all I had.
What would you call the sequel to this movie? I came up with something for that.
Don't Demolition. I don't know what.
Mine was Self-Immolation Man.
Okay,
I
yeah,
would just rather set myself on fire than be
yeah.
in this movie.
Self-Destruction Man.
And but I actually came up with a recasting for this movie that I think could make it worth watching.
Well, what is your choices?
Michael Keaton in the Sylvester Stallone role.
Okay, well, you're hearing that Batman thing I'm saying, right? This is like a
Absolutely.
Batman.
But Michael Keaton did you see the movie Protege that Michael Keaton was in?
No.
Where it's a newer movie, and he does some he's, he's of a certain age now, and he still does some fighting in it that's pretty impressive. And Tom Hiddleston in the Wesley Snipes role.
Okay.
Do you know Tom Hiddleston?
Yeah. Loki.
Yeah, Loki.
Yeah. So, okay.
I think he could bring a certain kind of glee to that role that Wesley Snipes didn't actually bring.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Still a movie I'm not going to want to see, however.
Who else did you cast?
That's as far as I got.
Well, I did pretty good on the casting as well.
You dove deeper than I did. Let's hear it.
I decided to lean into the comedy a little bit.
Okay.
And I want to cast Will Forte in the Sly Stallone part. And I want to cast Keegan-Michael Key in the Wesley Snipes role.
Okay. I like that a lot. I think he'd be terrific. Yeah.
I want to cast Julian Barrett as Dr. Cocteau. Julian Barrett played Mindhorn in the movie Mindhorn. He's a great English comic actor. And I think Beanie Feldstein would be fantastic in the...
Who the hell is Beanie?
You don't know Beanie Feldstein?
There's no actor named Beanie Feldstein. You made that up. That's somebody who went to Bennington.
You actually probably should stop talking right now, in all honesty.
Beanie Feldstein went to Bennington with Dad.
In all honesty, you really ought to stop talking right now.
Okay.
I'm really being serious.
Okay.
Beanie Feldstein is a huge star. She's really talented. She's Jonah Hill's sister, and she's been in a lot of movies, and she starred on Broadway, and she's a very big star right now, and very talented.
Well, I'm locked in a room making cocktails. What movies?
Just stuff. You can look her up. She's a star.
I've embarrassed myself.
I wanted you to stop before you maybe said something really bad, because there's a lot of fans of Beanie's out there, and she's a big deal.
I may have seen her in a lot of things. I have early onset Alzheimer's. Oh, she's fantastic. I love her. I just didn't know her name.
Well, that's her. That's Beanie Feldstein, and I think she should play the Sandra Bullock part.
I'm in agreement with you. And Beanie, I know she watches this show, and I apologize.
Matthew's been locked in a closet for a while, Beanie, and there's no excuse really, but he recognizes his mistake. Yes,
I'm an idiot, and we all know that. And Beanie, in my defense, I did not have a good education. I went to Wesleyan University, which, oh, you went to Wesleyan University. So there.
Is she chatting with you right now?
No, I'm trying to
Did she go to Wesleyan?
But here now I'm really scared, because we got this comment here, which is terrifying me. This comment, Beanie Middleton says that Beanie is wonderful.
Beanie is wonderful.
And I'm hoping that that's not actually Beanie Feldstein.
It's Beanie Middleton. Beanie Middleton is also spelling the name differently, but if we're talking about the same Beanie Feldstein, I agree. She is wonderful. She just did a Broadway show. I think her first Broadway play too. Anyway, that's what I'd cast. Demolition Man. I think, after watching Metro and this, if I were, like an archaeologist and I just come across this little tomb, I'd move right along. I'd say nothing in the Precambrian age to look at here. Just move along. Don't watch any more cop movies action cop movies in the 90s. Um, we're obviously not picking the greatest ones so far. Maybe that's on
Yeah,
purpose.
this is gonna hurt us in the ratings, which, let's
So
face it, haven't been great anyway.
don't let's not be sad on the show. Save it for after the show.
Save sadness for later.
So,
Plenty of time to be sad.
sadly, we're going to try to continue this with a movie called Time Cop next week.
Yes.
Um, and I don't know
Starring
that we're going to fare any better than we did this time. Although I think that will be a lot more entertaining.
a lot more entertaining. It stars the estimable Jean-Claude Van Damme, Mia Sara, and Ron Silver.
Yeah,
All people that we can feel free to make fun of if we need to. No,
Look,
I don't know. I wouldn't make fun of Mia Sara. I like Mia Sara.
I won't make fun of anybody unless they deserve. Listen, you got to earn that. You got
You
to
gotta
earn
ear
it.
you gotta earn our rose
We didn't even make fun of anybody really in this tonight, except for Denis Leary a little bit, and that wasn't
a
even
little
fun.
bit.
That was just like, I don't really want to see you, man. I don't like your work, so get out of here. But that's my own
You
thing.
I'll call out, I'll give a shout out to Troy Evans. I always like his work
Who did Troy
as
Evans play?
Officer James McMillan. He's on early in the film. I like Troy Evans, and I actually I do like Bob Gunton.
Bob Gunton is great. He's a wonderful actor,
I
and
think he's terrific.
and so is Nigel Hawthorne.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a great actor who's being very misused here.
and Bill Cobbs.
Bill Cobbs, Andre Gregory is great.
Yeah, Glenn
But
Shaddix as Associate Bob, my role, the eunuch.
yeah, okay.
Um, so there's should we end having a discussion about the three seashells? Should we
Well, look, I guess it has to come up at some point. If you know the movie, you'll know what we're talking about. But is there anything you wanted to say?
Well, just that in the future they don't have toilet paper. They use three seashells, and the joke is that Stallone goes to the bathroom in the future and he comes out, and you get a ticket if you use bad language. So he swears and swears and swears and swears so that many, many tickets come out of the machine so he can go back in and use them as toilet paper. And everybody thinks it's very funny because he doesn't know how to use the three seashells. But here's the level of stupidity in this movie is that they didn't even have a concept of what the whole three seashell thing substituting for toilet paper was. The writer called somebody and was trying to say, you got to help me out here. What would they do in the future for the bathroom, if they're trying not to waste paper? And the person he was talking to, I think, was in the bathroom. And he was like, well, I got some seashells in here. And I don't know if he meant actual seashells or decorative seashells, or maybe it was those little seashell soaps or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I can work with that. So they came up with this idea that you have three seashells to use to clean yourself.
Right.
But there's no, like, where do you go with that? Get it? Where do you go with that? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. They didn't explain it. They didn't. The fact that the guy said, the writer was like, three seashells. Yeah, I can work with that. Like, no, you can't. You didn't work with it. You just wrote three seashells. That's just words you wrote on a piece of paper.
Well, that's writing. Isn't that what writing is? Words on a piece of paper?
Well, I just do like the fact that the entire movie, Stallone's character is running around with a dirty bum. And I think that's just it's a strange thing for such a narcissistic guy, like so into his body and how he looks and how he's coming off. Then, like, did he not realize that that's kind of what the end of the movie, like, it implies that you've just been a disgusting mess the whole movie? Because that's what that means.
Oh gosh. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and that's our show.
You wanted to talk about this.
I
I didn't
know.
bring it up.
I'm trying to fill an hour, man, and we can't do it.
This movie was tough.
Yeah.
But there it is. It's done. We don't have to do it again.
And next
Thank
week will
God.
be better. No doubt about
Yeah.
it.
Van Damme is
Time
gonna bring a better time to
And
our
we're gonna
life.
have a Van Damn good time next week.
Damned if we do, and
Yeah.
damned if we don't.
Okay. Good night, everybody.